I will not sit here and be disrespected. Those were the last words Meghan Markle spoke before walking off the Jimmy Kimmel Live stage, leaving millions of viewers stunned and the host speechless. What started as a routine celebrity interview exploded into the most explosive late-night television moment in years. The Duchess of Sussex, calm, composed, regal, had just done something no A-list guest had ever done before. She left, mid-interview, on live television. But why? What did Jimmy Kimmel say that pushed Meghan past her breaking point? What questions were so invasive, so disrespectful, that a woman trained in royal protocol chose public confrontation over polite compliance? Tonight, we're breaking down every explosive second of the encounter that has social media divided and Hollywood talking. The moment when royalty met reality TV and reality TV lost. If you think you know what happened, think again. Because what the cameras captured was just the beginning. Hit subscribe, because this story is about to get wild. The scene was meticulously crafted for what many anticipated to be a smooth, engaging conversation. The studio buzzed with excitement, the audience eager to witness the Duchess in a casual, candid setting far removed from palace protocol. Jimmy Kimmel's set, known for its blend of humor and probing questions, welcomed Meghan with an energy that promised both entertainment and insight. As the cameras rolled, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Viewers from around the globe tuned in, drawn by the rare opportunity to see Meghan Markle outside the usual royal engagements and media soundbites. The opening moments painted a picture of cordiality, a poised and composed Meghan stepping confidently onto the stage, greeted by warm applause and the welcoming smile of the host. Yet beneath this polished veneer, subtle currents of tension began to ripple. The crowd's applause, while enthusiastic, carried a mix of curiosity and unspoken questions. The very presence of the Duchess on a platform known for its irreverent humor hinted at the potential for something more than a typical chat. Audiences sensed that this meeting was poised on the edge of something significant, awaiting the spark that would ignite a revealing exchange. The introduction carefully set the tone, weaving intrigue into the narrative without revealing the full extent of the underlying dynamics. Viewers were invited into an unfolding drama, one where the intersection of personal narrative and public perception promised to challenge both the guest and the host. The air was thick with expectation, a palpable sense that this conversation could veer sharply from the expected to the extraordinary. As the stage lights brightened and the cameras captured every nuance, the groundwork was laid for a dialogue that would test boundaries and expose vulnerabilities. The audience sat forward, their attention riveted not just by Meghan's celebrity status, but by the complex layers of her story. An American actress turned British royalty, navigating a world rife with scrutiny and speculation. Jimmy Kimmel, with his trademark blend of charm and incisiveness, prepared to navigate this terrain. His reputation for mixing humor with pointed questions meant that viewers braced themselves for a conversation that could oscillate between lighthearted banter and uncomfortable truths. The introduction hinted at this duality, framing the encounter as a high-stakes dance of wit and candor. The atmosphere on set was further amplified by the palpable energy of live television, where unpredictability reigns and every word carries weight. The audience's collective breath seemed to hold steady, as if anticipating the moment when the facade of scripted politeness might crack, revealing the raw emotions beneath. This tension was not just between host and guest, but also within the viewers themselves, torn between empathy and skepticism. This opening segment was more than mere preamble. It was a carefully constructed overture that set the emotional and narrative tempo for what was to come. The tension simmered beneath the surface, a silent drumbeat echoing through the studio, inviting speculation and engagement. Social media chatter began to spike even before the first question was asked, as fans and critics alike debated what this meeting might signify. The producer's choice to bring Meghan Markle onto Jimmy Kimmel Live was a deliberate one, signaling a desire to peel back layers and perhaps confront uncomfortable subjects in a public forum. The introduction framed the Duchess as a figure both celebrated and scrutinized, whose every move invites commentary and whose voice offers a rare glimpse behind the headlines. As the audience settled into their seats, the stage was set not only for an interview, but for a moment of cultural significance, where issues of identity, media scrutiny, and personal resilience could collide under the unforgiving spotlight of live television. The introduction's careful balance of warmth and foreboding invited viewers to brace themselves for a conversation that promised to be as revealing as it was unpredictable. In this charged environment, every gesture, every glance, every pause took on amplified meaning. Meghan's composed demeanor hinted at both confidence and caution, while Kimmel's poised readiness suggested a host prepared to probe beneath the surface. The scene was alive with possibility, a crossroads where personal narrative and public spectacle were destined to intersect. Before the first question was uttered, the narrative had already begun to weave its complex web. Audiences were drawn into a story that transcended the usual late-night fare, one that promised to explore not just the life of a duchess, but the broader themes of power, perception, and the price of fame. The introduction was a masterclass in building suspense, inviting viewers to witness a moment that could redefine both interviewer and interviewee. As the opening segment unfolded, it became clear that this was more than a simple exchange of words. It was a prelude to an intense dialogue that would challenge assumptions and reveal hidden truths. The atmosphere was electric, charged with anticipation and the unspoken understanding that what followed could shift public discourse in profound ways. The studio lights cast a warm glow over the set, yet beneath that light lay the shadows of complex histories and unresolved tensions. The introduction captured this duality, offering a glimpse into the layered realities that Meghan Markle navigates daily. It was a subtle reminder that behind every public figure lies a human story, fraught with challenges and triumphs alike. As viewers settled in, the narrative invited them to become more than passive observers. It called for engagement, for reflection, and for a willingness to confront the discomfort that often accompanies honesty. The scene was set for a conversation that would not only entertain, but also provoke thought and dialogue beyond the confines of the studio. This opening moment was a testament to the power of live television to create shared experiences, moments that ripple through social consciousness and spark conversations long after the cameras stop rolling. It was a reminder that in the world of celebrity and royalty, no encounter is ever truly scripted, and every interaction holds the potential for revelation. With the stage perfectly arranged and the audience primed, the introduction concluded on a note of suspense and invitation. Viewers were encouraged to stay tuned, to witness the unfolding drama, and to participate in the discourse that would surely follow. The promise of a memorable encounter hung in the air, palpable and irresistible, a story just beginning to unfold under the bright lights of Jimmy Kimmel Live. The moment Meghan Markle stepped onto the stage of Jimmy Kimmel Live, the atmosphere shifted from anticipation to warmth. The audience's applause was genuine, a heartfelt welcome for a woman whose life had been under relentless public scrutiny. Meghan appeared poised and composed, her elegance and calm demeanor setting a tone of grace amid the buzz of excitement. It was clear from the outset that this was not just another celebrity appearance. This was a carefully orchestrated moment meant to reveal a new facet of the Duchess of Sussex. Jimmy Kimmel greeted her with his trademark charm, a broad smile lighting up his face as he invited Meghan to take her seat. The initial exchange was lighthearted, peppered with the kind of casual banter that typically eases guests into the spotlight. Kimmel complimented Meghan on her recent projects, nodding to her work as an actress and her growing influence as a public figure beyond the royal title. Meghan responded with measured warmth, acknowledging the applause and sharing a few thoughtful comments about her journey since stepping back from royal duties. The chemistry between them in these opening moments was unmistakably cordial. Meghan's laughter was genuine as she recounted anecdotes from her acting days, and Kimmel's easygoing style brought a relaxed energy to the conversation. It seemed for a time that the interview would unfold as a rare glimpse into the life of a duchess unburdened by protocol, a moment of connection between two people navigating very different worlds but finding common ground in storytelling. Yet beneath the surface of this friendly dialogue, a subtle undercurrent hinted at the complexities waiting to be addressed. Kimmel, known for his sharp wit and occasionally probing questions, began to steer the conversation toward areas that had long been sources of public fascination and controversy. His tone remained amicable, but there was an unmistakable shift as he touched upon Meghan's past experiences with the media, a topic laden with emotional weight and unresolved tensions. The transition was seamless but palpable. Kimmel's questions, phrased as gentle inquiries, probed the impact of relentless media scrutiny on Meghan's life. He asked about the challenges she faced navigating the intense spotlight, the pressures of public perception, and the toll it took on her and her family. Meghan's expression grew thoughtful, her responses carefully measured as she reflected on the invasive nature of tabloid coverage and the often hostile environment she encountered. In these moments, the atmosphere in the studio subtly changed. The audience, initially buoyed by the light-hearted opening, grew quieter, sensing the gravity beneath Meghan's words. Kimmel's approach balanced respect with curiosity, but the edges of the conversation sharpened as he sought to unpack the deeper implications of Meghan's experiences. The questions hinted at controversies that had made headlines worldwide, inviting Meghan to share her perspective in a space that was both public and intimate. Meghan responded with a calm resolve, articulating the emotional complexities of living under constant scrutiny. She spoke of the isolation that fame can bring, the challenges of protecting one's mental health, and the difficulty of maintaining authenticity when every action is dissected. Her voice was steady but carried an undercurrent of vulnerability that resonated deeply with viewers and the live audience alike. Kimmel acknowledged her candor, yet his follow-up questions suggested a desire to probe further. He inquired about the impact of misinformation and the role of the media in shaping narratives that often seem to overshadow the truth. Meghan's replies were candid, reflecting both frustration and resilience as she navigated the delicate balance between public image and private reality. Throughout this exchange, the dynamic between them remained professional but charged with an unspoken tension. Meghan's guarded openness was met with Kimmel's persistent curiosity, creating a dialogue that was as revealing as it was restrained. The audience was drawn into this delicate dance, witnessing a conversation that peeled back layers of public persona to reveal the human experience beneath. The interplay between host and guest highlighted the complexities of fame in the digital age, how public figures must contend with narratives crafted by others, often at the expense of their own truth. Meghan's willingness to engage on these topics demonstrated a desire to reclaim her story, to speak directly to the millions who had followed her journey with a mix of admiration and skepticism. Kimmel's role as interviewer became increasingly nuanced as the discussion progressed. His questions, while respectful, carried the weight of cultural critique, challenging Meghan to confront the contradictions inherent in her public life. The audience sensed that this was not merely an interview, but a broader exploration of power, perception, and the costs of visibility. As the conversation unfolded, Meghan navigated this terrain with a blend of grace and firmness. She acknowledged the privileges and responsibilities that came with her position, while also highlighting the unfairness and challenges unique to her experience. Her narrative was one of resilience, a refusal to be defined solely by media portrayals, and an assertion of agency in telling her own story. The studio lights reflected the shifting mood, from the initial warmth of welcome to a more contemplative atmosphere tinged with seriousness. The audience remained rapt, their engagement deepening as Meghan's words resonated beyond the confines of the stage. Social media buzzed in real time, viewers sharing their reactions to the unfolding dialogue and the rare glimpse into the personal realities behind headlines. Kimmel, ever the skilled host, balanced empathy with incisiveness, allowing Meghan space to express herself while gently challenging her to elaborate on difficult topics. This balance kept the conversation dynamic, preventing it from becoming either a softball interview or an adversarial confrontation. Instead, it carved out a space for honest reflection amid the performative nature of celebrity discourse. Throughout this segment, Meghan's poise never wavered. Her responses were thoughtful, often introspective, revealing layers of complexity that defied simplistic narratives. She spoke not only as a public figure, but as a woman grappling with the intersection of identity, expectation, and the relentless gaze of the public eye. The exchange also underscored the broader cultural conversations surrounding media responsibility, mental health, and the pressures faced by women in the spotlight. Meghan's candidness invited viewers to consider the human cost behind headlines and the importance of empathy in public discourse. It was a moment that transcended celebrity gossip, touching on themes that resonate universally. As the interview progressed, the initial friendly rapport between Meghan and Kimmel laid the foundation for a conversation that promised to delve deeper. The audience remained attentive, aware that beneath the surface of polite exchange lay the potential for revelations and challenges that could shift the tone and direction of the dialogue. This segment of the interview was a masterful illustration of how casual conversation can evolve into a meaningful exploration of complex issues. The interplay between host and guest created a space where vulnerability met scrutiny and where personal truth sought to assert itself amid the noise of public opinion. Meghan's presence on the show, coupled with Kimmel's probing yet respectful approach, set the stage for a conversation that was as much about healing and understanding as it was about confrontation. The audience was witnessing not just an interview, but a moment of cultural significance, a chance to engage with the realities behind the headlines and the stories often left untold. As the dialogue continued to unfold, the tension simmered beneath the surface, signaling that the easy camaraderie of the opening moments might soon give way to a more intense and revealing exchange. The audience sensed that the story was far from over, that the true test of this encounter was yet to come. With every question and answer, the delicate balance between openness and defense was tested, creating a dynamic that held the attention of all present. The interplay of lightheartedness and seriousness, of humor and pain, made for a compelling narrative that invited viewers to look beyond the superficial and engage with the complexities of Meghan Markle's journey. In this way, the interview moved beyond mere entertainment, becoming a thoughtful examination of identity, media, and the human spirit. The audience was drawn into a conversation that promised to challenge perceptions and invite empathy, a story unfolding live, with all its unpredictability and power. As the interview progressed, Jimmy Kimmel's questions took on a sharper edge, moving from gentle curiosity to pointed inquiry. The lighthearted banter that marked the early moments gave way to a tension that was almost palpable throughout the studio. What began as a conversation about Meghan Markle's projects and experiences gradually shifted into a deeper examination of her narrative, with Kimmel challenging aspects of her story and questioning her motives in a tone that left little room for easy answers. Kimmel's approach became increasingly direct, probing Meghan on the choices she made in stepping back from royal duties and the public fallout that followed. He questioned the sincerity behind her public statements and the timing of her revelations, framing them as strategic moves in a carefully managed media campaign. The audience sensed the change immediately. The warm rapport had been replaced by a more adversarial dynamic, underscored by Kimmel's measured but insistent tone. Meghan's response was equally measured, though the subtle shifts in her expression betrayed a growing discomfort. She maintained a calm exterior, but her voice carried a firmness that suggested she was prepared to defend not just her actions, but the very essence of her truth. When Kimmel insinuated that some of her accounts might be exaggerated or self-serving, Meghan did not shy away. Instead, she met his skepticism head-on, articulating her experiences with clarity and conviction. The tension in the room tightened as Meghan addressed the challenges of living under constant scrutiny, emphasizing the emotional toll of being misunderstood and misrepresented. She spoke of the courage it took to speak out against systemic issues within the media and society, framing her actions not as opportunistic, but as necessary acts of self-preservation and advocacy. Her tone was calm but resolute, conveying a deep-seated determination to set the record straight. Kimmel pressed further, questioning whether Meghan's narrative was shaped by personal ambition or a genuine desire to effect change. His words, though carefully chosen, carried an implicit doubt that resonated with the skeptical segment of the audience. This line of questioning struck at the heart of the controversy surrounding Meghan. The public struggled to reconcile the image of a royal duchess with that of a woman asserting her independence and agency. Meghan's rebuttal was powerful and unyielding. She challenged the notion that seeking truth and justice could be reduced to mere ambition. Drawing on her personal journey, she highlighted the complexities of navigating an institution steeped in tradition while trying to forge a path aligned with her own values. Her articulation of these tensions illuminated the difficulties faced by anyone caught between conflicting worlds, especially when those worlds are under the relentless gaze of the public eye. The audience, initially caught off guard by the escalating confrontation, became engrossed in the unfolding drama. The studio's energy shifted from polite curiosity to a charged atmosphere where every word carried weight. Meghan's composure under pressure and Kimmel's persistence created a compelling dynamic, one that highlighted the fraught relationship between celebrity, media, and public perception. Kimmel's questions began to touch on more personal territory, including the impact of public scrutiny on Meghan's mental health and family life. He probed whether her decision to speak openly about these struggles was a form of vulnerability or a calculated step to control the narrative. Meghan's answers reflected a delicate balance. She acknowledged the pain and difficulty involved, but framed her openness as a necessary step toward healing and advocacy. Throughout this exchange, Meghan's ability to articulate her experiences with nuance and honesty stood in stark contrast to Kimmel's skeptical queries. The dialogue underscored the gulf between public assumptions and personal reality, revealing the layers of complexity often lost in media soundbites. Meghan's insistence on authenticity challenged the audience to reconsider preconceived notions and to listen beyond the headlines. The tension escalated further when Kimmel questioned the legitimacy of Meghan's grievances, suggesting that some criticisms might be exaggerated or self-inflicted. This provoked a visibly firmer response from Meghan, who defended her perspective with quiet intensity. She pointed to specific instances of media bias and institutional challenges, framing her critique as rooted in lived experience rather than hearsay. This moment marked a turning point in the interview. Meghan's articulate defense of her truth disrupted the narrative Kimmel seemed to be constructing, forcing a re-evaluation of the assumptions underpinning the conversation. The audience witnessed a powerful assertion of agency, a refusal to be diminished or dismissed by skepticism framed as inquiry. As the exchange deepened, Meghan also addressed the broader implications of her story, linking her personal experiences to systemic issues of race, gender, and power. She spoke candidly about the intersections of these forces in her life, inviting the audience to consider the societal structures that shape public perception and personal fate. Her words carried a weight that transcended the immediate context, touching on universal themes of justice and dignity. Kimmel responded with a mixture of surprise and renewed questioning, probing how Meghan reconciled her past as a Hollywood actress with her current role as a public advocate and royal figure. He suggested that this dual identity might complicate her message, creating conflicting expectations and criticisms. Meghan acknowledged the complexity but emphasized that her evolution was a reflection of growth and self-awareness rather than contradiction. The audience watched as this dialogue unfolded with intensity, recognizing the rarity of such candidness in a late-night talk show setting. The conversation was no longer just about celebrity. It had become a profound exploration of identity, resilience, and the struggle for authenticity in a world eager to categorize and judge. Throughout this segment, Meghan maintained a poised demeanor, even as the questions probed deeper and the atmosphere grew more charged. Her responses were thoughtful and deliberate, refusing to be cornered by insinuations or doubts. The interplay between her steadfastness and Kimmel's persistent skepticism created a narrative tension that captivated viewers and underscored the complexities of her public persona. The audience's reaction was mixed. Some applauded Meghan's courage and clarity, while others found themselves questioning the nuances of the exchange. Social media buzzed with debate, reflecting the polarized views that often accompany discussions about Meghan Markle. This split response added another layer to the unfolding story, highlighting how deeply divided public opinion remained. As the interview pushed forward, the stakes climbed higher. Kimmel's increasingly pointed remarks tested Meghan's limits, while her steadfast defense challenged the host to reconsider the assumptions embedded in his questions. The conversation became a microcosm of the broader cultural debates surrounding celebrity, media ethics, and personal agency. In this charged environment, Meghan's voice emerged not just as a response to criticism, but as a call for understanding and respect. Her willingness to confront skepticism head-on demonstrated a refusal to be silenced or simplified, asserting her right to control her narrative in a world eager to define her. The tension between them was a reflection of the complex realities that public figures like Meghan must navigate, where every statement is scrutinized, every motive questioned, and every truth contested. This segment of the interview captured that dynamic with unflinching honesty, offering viewers a rare glimpse into the pressures and contradictions of fame. As the exchange reached its peak, the audience was left on the edge of their seats, aware that the dialogue was far from over. The interplay of challenge and defense had set the stage for what promised to be an even more intense confrontation, with both Meghan and Kimmel poised to reveal more of themselves in the moments ahead. The air in the studio grew noticeably heavier as Jimmy Kimmel's questions took a sharper, more provocative turn. His tone shifted from inquisitive to skeptical, the underlying implication clear. He questioned not only Meghan Markle's narrative, but her very intentions. The subtle diplomacy of earlier moments gave way to an edge that cut through the veneer of polite conversation, leaving both the audience and Meghan visibly tense. Kimmel pressed Meghan on the veracity of her claims, casting doubt on her motivations and suggesting that some of her emotional revelations might be performative or strategic. His words hinted at a disbelief that resonated with a segment of the public, questioning whether Meghan's openness was genuine or an attempt to manipulate public sympathy. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife as the audience collectively held its breath. Meghan's composure, though tested, remained unbroken. She met Kimmel's insinuations with a quiet but unmistakable intensity, her eyes locked on his as she prepared to respond. The usual grace that had characterized her demeanor now gave way to a fierceness that conveyed the depths of her frustration. This was no longer just an interview. It was a confrontation, a battle over truth and respect played out under the unforgiving spotlight of live television. With measured calm, Meghan delivered a passionate rebuttal. She articulated the pain of being dismissed and the indignity of having her experiences minimized or questioned. Her voice, steady yet charged with emotion, underscored the reality of facing systemic disbelief and prejudice. She spoke not only for herself, but for countless others whose voices had been similarly undermined, transforming the personal into a powerful statement on broader social injustices. The audience watched, riveted, as Meghan's words cut through the skepticism. She challenged Kimmel's framing of her story, asserting that her truth was not subject to the judgments of those who had never lived it. Her rebuttal was a clear declaration. She would no longer tolerate attempts to diminish her experiences or question her integrity. This moment marked a turning point, a breaking of the polite facade that often shields public figures from direct confrontation. Kimmel, momentarily taken aback, attempted to regain control of the conversation. His attempts to reframe his questions as honest inquiries about aging and public perception fell flat against Meghan's unwavering stance. The audience sensed a shift in power dynamics. The host, usually in command, was now grappling with the force of Meghan's conviction. Meghan's response to this was both articulate and unyielding. She illuminated the double standards faced by women in the public eye, especially those who dare to speak out against entrenched systems. Her critique was sharp, exposing the layers of bias and misunderstanding that fuel such dismissals. The audience, captivated by her eloquence and courage, began to see the encounter not merely as an interview, but as a microcosm of larger societal struggles. As the tension escalated, Meghan made it clear that she would not be silenced or belittled. Her declaration that she would leave the stage with her dignity intact resonated deeply, a powerful assertion of self-respect in the face of adversity. This was more than a personal stance. It was a rallying cry against the disrespect often directed at women, particularly women of color, in both media and society. The exchange reached its crescendo as Meghan delivered a final, searing critique of Kimmel's approach. She called out the host for what she framed as bullying behavior disguised as humor, exposing the thin line between jest and disrespect. Her words struck a chord, revealing the emotional toll of such encounters and the courage required to confront them publicly. As she prepared to walk off the stage, Meghan's resolve was unmistakable. Her departure was not a retreat, but a statement, one that underscored the consequences of underestimating her strength and the strength of others who refused to be diminished. The audience was left in stunned silence, grappling with the gravity of what had just unfolded before their eyes. This confrontation was unlike any other seen on late-night television. It shattered the illusion of scripted politeness and revealed the raw, unfiltered realities faced by those in the spotlight. Meghan's stand was a testament to resilience and a demand for respect, an unforgettable moment that challenged viewers to reconsider their perceptions and the standards by which public figures are judged. Throughout the exchange, the interplay of power, vulnerability, and defiance created a narrative tension that held the audience captive. Meghan's courage in speaking truth to power contrasted sharply with Kimmel's attempts to maintain control, highlighting the complexities of such interactions in a media-driven world. The audience, both in the studio and watching from afar, was left to grapple with the implications of this encounter. It was a vivid reminder of how quickly decorum can vanish when respect is absent, and how the struggle for dignity and recognition remains ongoing for many. Meghan's departure was not an end, but a powerful punctuation mark in a conversation that demanded further reflection. Social media erupted in real time, with viewers expressing a range of reactions, from admiration for Meghan's bravery to criticism of the escalating tension. The incident sparked widespread discussion about the responsibilities of interviewers, the treatment of women in media, and the broader cultural issues at play. It became clear that this was more than a moment of television drama. It was a catalyst for dialogue on respect, representation, and resilience. As the studio lights dimmed and the cameras cut away, the echo of Meghan's words lingered. Her decision to walk away with dignity intact was a potent symbol of strength, one that resonated far beyond the confines of the stage. This was a defining moment, one that challenged the norms of celebrity interviews and underscored the importance of empathy and understanding in public discourse. The confrontation served as a powerful reminder that behind the glitz and glamour of fame lie real, human stories marked by struggle and perseverance. Meghan's stand against dismissal and disrespect illuminated the courage required to navigate such a path, inspiring viewers to reconsider the narratives they consume and the judgments they pass. In this intense exchange, Meghan Markle emerged not just as a guest on a talk show, but as a figure of resilience and empowerment. Her refusal to be diminished or silenced spoke volumes about the challenges faced by women in the public eye and the strength it takes to claim one's truth unapologetically. As the episode drew to a close, the audience was left to reflect on the profound implications of what they had witnessed. The tension and confrontation had peeled back layers of public persona, revealing the raw and often painful realities beneath. This was a moment that would be remembered not only for its drama, but for its bold assertion of dignity and respect. The conversation that began with light-hearted banter had transformed into a powerful dialogue about identity, power, and the courage to stand firm. Meghan's departure was a statement that echoed beyond the studio walls, a call to recognize and honor the humanity behind the headlines, no matter how uncomfortable that truth might be. What do you make of this explosive encounter? How do you see the balance between respect and scrutiny in public discourse? Share your thoughts below and stay tuned for more revealing stories that challenge the status quo and spotlight the voices that refuse to be silenced. Meghan Markle's final words on the Jimmy Kimmel Live stage rang with resolute clarity as she firmly rejected the insinuations that had sought to undermine her credibility throughout the interview. With a voice steady yet charged with conviction, she declared unequivocally that her truth was hers alone to tell, not subject to the dismissive judgments of skeptics or the sensationalism of the tabloids. This moment was more than a personal vindication. It was a powerful assertion of agency, a refusal to be boxed into narratives crafted by others. Without hesitation, Meghan rose from her seat, signaling a decisive end to the fraud exchange. Her exit was abrupt, yet dignified, leaving both Jimmy Kimmel and the audience in stunned silence. The room, once alive with tension and anticipation, now held a palpable stillness as viewers absorbed the gravity of what had just transpired. This departure was a statement in itself, a bold declaration that respect is not negotiable and that self-worth cannot be compromised for the comfort of others. The stunned quiet lingered long after the cameras cut away, a testament to the profound impact of Meghan's choice to walk off the stage. It was a moment that defied the conventions of late-night talk shows, where guests typically endure probing questions with practiced grace. Instead, Meghan's exit underscored the limits of tolerance in the face of disrespect, challenging both hosts and audiences to reconsider the boundaries of acceptable discourse. As the episode concluded, social media erupted into a whirlwind of reactions. Supporters lauded Meghan's courage and authenticity, praising her for standing firm against what they perceived as unfair treatment. Many highlighted the significance of her refusal to be diminished publicly, viewing it as an emblematic moment for women everywhere who face similar dismissals and disrespect. Hashtags and trending topics flooded online platforms, turning the encounter into a global conversation about dignity, respect, and the power dynamics inherent in media interactions. Conversely, critics seized upon the tension-filled exchange to question Meghan's motives and demean the legitimacy of her narrative. Debates ignited over the appropriateness of her departure and the nature of her responses, reflecting the polarized public perceptions that have long surrounded the Duchess. This division underscored the complexity of her position as both a public figure and a woman navigating a labyrinth of expectations and judgments. Beyond the immediate reactions, this confrontation sparked broader discussions about the responsibilities of interviewers and the ethics of media scrutiny. Commentators and cultural critics analyzed the dynamics at play, questioning the balance between journalistic inquiry and the perpetuation of harmful stereotypes or biases. The incident became a case study in the challenges faced by women, especially women of color, in media spaces historically dominated by entrenched power structures. The conversation extended beyond entertainment circles, touching on themes of mental health, racial bias, and the resilience required to maintain authenticity in the spotlight. Meghan's willingness to speak openly about these issues resonated deeply, inspiring dialogues about the importance of empathy and understanding in public discourse. It was a reminder that behind every headline lies a human story deserving of respect and nuance. The impact of this episode rippled through Hollywood and beyond, influencing how future interviews might be conducted and how public figures could reclaim control over their narratives. Meghan's stand served as a catalyst, encouraging others to challenge disrespect and demand accountability from those who wield media platforms. It highlighted the evolving relationship between celebrities and the press, where power dynamics are increasingly scrutinized and contested. In the days following the broadcast, analysis and commentary continued to pour in, dissecting every moment of the interview and its aftermath. Some viewed Meghan's departure as a necessary act of self-preservation, a refusal to endure further emotional harm. Others debated the implications for media transparency and the public's right to question those in the spotlight. This dialogue underscored the nuanced terrain navigated by public figures who must balance openness with protection. Amidst the fervor, Meghan's message remained clear and unwavering. Respect is fundamental, and no one should be compelled to accept less. Her exit from the stage was more than a physical departure. It was a symbolic assertion of boundaries and self-respect that resonated with viewers worldwide. It challenged audiences to reconsider not only how they engage with public figures, but also how they treat one another in everyday interactions. The encounter between Meghan Markle and Jimmy Kimmel became a defining moment in talk show history, illustrating the profound consequences when respect falters in public discourse. It revealed the fragility of decorum under pressure and the strength required to stand firm in one's truth. Meghan's actions spoke volumes about empowerment, resilience, and the ongoing struggle to claim space in narratives often dominated by others. As conversations continued to unfold, this episode served as a powerful reminder of the human dignity that underpins every story told in the media. Meghan's refusal to be diminished or dismissed resonated far beyond the entertainment world, touching on universal themes of justice, respect, and the courage to confront adversity head-on. It was a moment that invited reflection, dialogue, and ultimately, change. What do you think about this dramatic exit and the broader issues it raises? How should public figures balance openness with self-protection in the face of intense scrutiny? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of the moments that shape our cultural landscape. This is a story still unfolding, one that challenges us all to consider the power of respect and the strength of those who demand it.